You're listening to Law Friendly, the #1 show in all of Boston. I'm your host, Alice Bell, and with me today is the Wasteland's #1 wanderer, the king of swing, the master of modding, Chris Takahashi.
Nani shimasu ka? That's like the one line. That's the one line the robot says.
See, I knew that robot.
Yeah, that robot.
I saw it for a second in a random video related to Fallout 4, and I was like, Chris, this is you. You're in the game.
No,
and
it's not.
It's not
me.
it's not.
It's a robot with one line. I don't even know if that makes sense. My Japanese isn't all that good, but usually I think it just means like, what are you doing, or what do you want to do? It doesn't really make much sense to me. I think normally if you walk into a Japanese restaurant, they'll be like "irashaimase" or something like that. It'd be like it's like a welcoming thing, they say.
Okay.
So
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
Hey.
I don't know what the purpose of that particular line is, if it holds any meaning or if it was just meant to be gibberish.
Oh, I have no idea. I literally just saw a robot called Takahashi. I didn't hear any of its lines or anything, so...
Yeah, so I basically changed all my avatars naturally to the robot.
Yeah. I like to think I had a role in that.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to?
I have been joining the wonderful world of padding out your CV because I've got to apply for my postgrad soon.
Oh, so what are you doing exactly? Like, what kind of activities?
Well, this weekend I took part in like this big city-wide project thing.
Oh.
Where there's a book that was written that's set in Nottingham, and we were basically like reading out different chapters in different locations. It was pretty cool because like not many people came, so I got to drink loads of free coffee. So that was good.
But the trick for any kind of like resume or CV is to exaggerate what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
So what you were doing is like, so even if you're doing like a drama, if you're directing a drama play or something, you could say it's like project management or team building or some kind of bullshit like that.
Well, it's like it's looking at the minute because I'm struggling to get any more volunteer work that I'm going to have to put the podcast on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm applying for an Anglo-Saxon and Norse literature course. And in the first episode, way, way, way back, we talked about Norse culture. So that's something. So I'm going to talk about developing my research skills and presenting them in an accessible manner for mass consumption.
Mass communications, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't call it a podcast or anything like that. Call it a mass communication training in history and Norse mythology. How's that?
And I won't mention the video game part or the fact that we haven't actually talked about history for like 3 episodes.
Yes, it's basically bullshit in paper form.
Yeah.
Fertilizer.
We might have
Put
to
it in the ground and it'll probably grow into a tree of bullcrap.
It's golden bullshit. Like, just think about how many viewers we have. Like,
yes.
tens of them.
Dozens. Dozens sounds like more than tens. Even though it literally is more than tens.
Yeah. But if we put like tens, then they could think, oh, she just forgot to write thousands.
But then they'll think, oh, she's not very careful and she's not diligent.
Good point.
She omits words on occasion.
Yeah. She doesn't proofread.
You're not meticulous enough to be admitted into our prestigious doctorate program.
Yeah, I think that's something that I would have to work on anyway. I'm so bad at proofreading, I hate it.
Now you're not getting in for sure now that you've made it public.
No, I am very, very good at proofreading and making sure that I do not miss out any words in any of my written sentences.
Bravo. I'm sure they fell for that completely.
I am academic.
The only volunteer work I ever did was actually for Thanksgiving, which is kind of related.
Oh, yeah. Is it this Thursday or next Thursday?
This Thursday.
Oh, that's why Amazon's been trying to sell me loads of Black Friday stuff.
They don't realize you're actually English. These sales only apply to red-blooded Americans. But yeah, I actually did do some volunteer work for those Thanksgiving drives to help the homeless, but it wasn't because I was benevolent or a good person. I just wanted free turkey. It was hunger and greed that drove me to help society in the end.
Well, that's still more like actual volunteer work than I've done. I mean, I just read to, like, pretentious people for God knows, for like 12 hours and drank coffee and got free food. That was good, actually. Like, loads of free sweets
So
and
if
stuff.
they were pretentious, did they actually applaud your work, or were they too busy sticking their noses up at you? This isn't proper Shakespeare.
No, they were actually quite surprised because, like, the narrator is a guy called Brian, and I don't look very much like a Brian.
Yeah, I see you more as a Carl or a Bill. Somewhere cold.
Yeah, I put on my really deep northern accent voice.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Eco blimey, mate.
Did you have to wear slacks and suspenders and shit like that?
No, we had to dress like late 60s. So I was in like a turtleneck sweater and a skirt, and I looked exactly like my old history teacher.
Oh, you didn't go with the leisure suit?
Mate, I had like a week to come up with something, and I can't afford to spend money on things that I'm never going to wear again.
So you're not gonna wear a leisure suit out on the street or anything like that?
No. I like to pretend that I'm at least somewhat fashionable.
So do you have anything like Thanksgiving in the UK?
I think that's basically Christmas. Like, we just eat and eat and eat on Christmas Day. It's really bad. And New Year's Day.
We have Christmas here too, Alice. It's kind of a big deal. No, I meant like something in between, sandwiched in between Halloween and Christmas.
Well, we kind of have, like, we have 5th of November, Gunpowder Pleasing.
Well, that's a really bright holiday to celebrate.
Yeah, celebrating a man getting burned alive.
Although granted, it's not like Thanksgiving is
No.
particularly merry or bright considering what happened to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
And speaking of horrible apocalyptic scenarios, Fallout 4.
Hey, nice. Smooth.
Yes, very, very smooth. But, regarding the game, if you're worried about spoilers, we're actually only going to discuss some general concepts and mechanics about the game. We're not going to spoil anything story related or talk about
Because
it.
I can't!
Yeah, it's physically impossible. It's literally impossible for you to spoil the game that you haven't actually played.
Yeah.
So there's no spoilers in this podcast, if you're worried.
Well, let's see how long we stick to that, because we are terrible with spoilers.
That's true. But like I said, it's going to basically be all on me because you can't actually spoil the game. So
I'd find a way.
Would
I could
you?
quite easily go on the wiki page and ruin it for myself and everyone else.
That's like going above and beyond.
That's what I did with Fallout 3.
Having a talent for spoiling things and ruining people's games. We'll edit it out anyway. Okay, so going back to Fallout 4, it's kind of widely assumed that, or this game is going to basically be Skyrim with guns.
Isn't that basically how IGN reviewed Fallout 3? Like Oblivion with guns?
But they meant it more as a positive. I'm talking more about how the internet just dismisses Fallout 4, like, or Fallout 3 to say, Oblivion with guns.
Oh, yeah.
Guns, just shoot people.
Guns. Hoodoo.
Bang, bang. It's not real like swords.
He.
But if you actually play the game, you can't call it Skyrim with guns. It's just,
Yeah.
they've introduced elements that are completely new to anything they've ever done before. And one of those things is crafting, which is actually very similar to Fallout Shelter.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Fallout Shelter was a training simulator or system for Fallout 4. Like, you have all the power and water and electricity you have to worry about, and you assign people to different shit. So, in a way, it's kind of like, if you ever seen Karate Kid, it's kind of like how Mr. Miyagi would basically make Daniel's son do his fucking laundry and rub his feet and wash his car and try and convince him it was all about karate. Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing.
I'm going to pretend that I understand that reference. Okay. We just need to put Eye of the Tiger in the background whenever you're playing. It's the Eye of the Tiger. And I'm leveling up my power. Sorry.
No, by all means. Sing whenever you want. Never mind if the lyrics are correct. Or... Anyways, we got off track there. So Fallout Shelter and Fallout 4 kind of have that link in terms of crafting and settlement building. Of course, the downside of that is once you're done, like, building everything, there's the fact that you have to kind of babysit your vault dwellers in Fallout Shelter is kind of the same mechanic that's used in Fallout 4, where you have to take care of your settlers and make sure they aren't getting attacked by raiders or getting their loved ones kidnapped and shit like that.
Oh, that'd annoy me. Like, there's no distinct personalities in Fallout Shelter, and there's no voices and stuff, so they can't really annoy you. Whereas, like, in Fallout 4, everything's voiced, and ugh, I hate babysitting people. It's like one big escort quest.
Yeah, it gets pretty repetitive. But that's more or less the nature of Radiant quests.
Yeah.
You're going to have multiple NPCs who are cycling or going through the same dialogue. And I don't really have a problem with that normally. It was fine in Skyrim because you didn't have to do them.
Yeah.
In Fallout 4, the one thing I don't like is that you're kind of forced to do them. You basically get the help requests from the settlers beamed into your radio. So I actually had this thing where I was trying to do the last final quest. I was trying to beat the game, more or less. And all of a sudden, right in the middle of just the final combat, I get these messages from settlers being attacked and how they need help and all this other nonsense. And it's like, dude, not now.
Mate, chill. I'm doing the main quest. Fuck off.
Exactly. But I do think they did a good job with just the amount of voice acting and voice actors, to where even repetitive dialogue seems like you're hearing it from a different person. And I think overall they put so much content into the game that it's pretty impressive. But I do wish Radiant quests were something that were more optional, that you weren't forced to do and fail if you neglected it over a certain time. Even if they forced it upon you, if they didn't fail them after a certain amount of days, it would be a little bit easier to stomach. But I don't want to do them. I want to put those aside. So honestly, in my next playthrough, I'm just not going to build any settlements because I don't want to protect them. I don't want to have to babysit anyone. Like, isn't that something like you did with Fallout Shelter, where you limited the amount of residents you had so you didn't run into any death claws?
Yeah, I didn't want any death claws. And then like I finally built it up past the point where like I was getting death claws because I was just sick of not having any new people, and like they weren't that hard. Like, I was so disappointed. Everyone was like, they ruined my shelter, they fucked my shit up. And it was actually, no, you just make sure you've got enough dwellers in the room. It's fine. Chill your tits.
Yeah, that's true. What about dragons in Skyrim? Did you feel the same way about fighting them?
Well, I've always played Skyrim with the Dragon Combat Overhaul mod installed. So I never really felt that. I've never played it with vanilla dragons. Never.
Okay. Yeah, that would make a difference. Because for me, I do feel like I'm a bit overpowered. Like the other day, I ran into a legendary Deathclaw matriarch. Yeah, one-shotted her in the head.
There's a real issue with balancing there, I think.
Yeah, and some weak-ass raider will try and run up to you and beat you over the head with his stick, and it's like, why do you even try?
Just like, mate, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I think at this point, because of the way I played the game, I played exploration first, quests second.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with open world games. You kind of have to pace yourself right. You kind of have to do a quest, do some exploration, do a quest, do an exploration, and control the pacing so that things level properly, stories get told properly, and you don't have to revisit locations over and over again.
Yeah.
And because I overloaded on one aspect, being the exploration, toward the end of the game, everything was out of balance. Like, I'll just walk down a corridor and there'll be like 12 people shooting bullets into me, and I'm just like soaking them in like a sponge while I walk up to them and one shot each one in the head.
You become a literal tank. Like, you grow treads and everything.
Yeah, totally. Completely made of metal.
Well, that's basically what that big power suit armor thing is. I know so much about this game, you can tell.
Yeah, power armor.
It's basically like a tank with legs. It's a Metal Gear.
Yeah, you could even jump off skyscrapers and basically just land and be completely okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's pretty fun though. But I generally avoid power armor because it's unnecessary. You're already invincible enough as it is. And not to mention you have companions with you too that soak up a bunch of bullets and can't die, but that's not really the point of companions, obviously. Companions are there to build relationships with and share your journey. So let's talk about disposition systems. Are you familiar with disposition systems, or is there a particular system that you like?
No, I started playing Mass Effect and never finished.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's very BioWare-esque. It's modeled after BioWare in that it has a wheel. You have companions who interject themselves into quest conversations with quest NPCs. They have over 2,000 lines, which is really impressive. And you can tell that they try to model it after BioWare. I know that there's probably limitations with what they could do with the kit. That's why it's a primitive version of the wheel at best, where BioWare segregates the probing questions with the quest advancement questions. That's the major advancement that they made from Mass Effect 2, Dragon Age 2, and Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And they also color-coded everything. And those are things that I just think Bethesda could not do with their engine, because there's no reason not to do it if they played Mass Effect, which they likely have. But all that being said, they did develop much better companions this time around. There's no Lydias.
I'm sworn to carry your burdens.
And another thing is that the companions are polygamy friendly.
Way!
You can romance as many of them as you want. Guys, girls, ghouls.
Just have a harem. A harem of sexy ghouls.
Yeah, totally. The one thing that might be disappointing for people who like women is that the female offerings are not as diverse as the male ones. They're basically all sexy white women, which is pretty okay with me because that's right in my wheelhouse, but it might not be okay for others.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish there was a little bit more diversity there, but it's understandable given how difficult it is to voice female ghouls in other parts.
See, I'd want an equal opportunities harem.
Yeah.
Just like anyone can join, so long as they're good with polygamy, it's all good. You can all join my harem. It'll be great.
I couldn't agree more. That was more of Skyrim's way of doing things. In Fallout, you can only romance the companions, which makes sense because you have the biggest bond with them. And while they're emotionally diverse, they're not physically diverse, which is might not be an important distinction, but it really depends on your personal preferences.
Oh, does this mean that you're going to write sexy romance dialogue for the companions in Fallout 4?
Oh no, I'm not gonna touch the vanilla companions, or if you're talking about regular mod companions, I don't think the game really needs them. And not that they won't make them, Nexus won't make them, but it feels like it's a bit redundant, especially given what Nexus is known for, which is making a lot of a certain type of companion. There's enough of those already. But yeah, the companions are great. I do think there's room for expansion in that Bethesda's focus is always on exploring and immersion while exploring. So they'll notice when you pick up junk, they'll notice if you take your clothes off, stuff like that, little things, details and stuff like that. That's what they care about. Whereas a BioWare game, where I would like to put the focus is on conversations about the main quest.
Yeah.
And dialogue pertaining to things that are going on in the world, the bigger things, and how they feel about that, as opposed to being able to recognize what color shoe you're wearing. And that's where I think where the focus was in the wrong place, but it's hard to really fault them because that's what they like to do. That's where they excel, I guess.
Yeah.
And those same kind of concepts kind of play into how the disposition works. The disposition in Fallout is tied to exploring in a lot of ways as opposed to conversation. It is also tied to quest conversation and stuff like that, and the dialogue wheel, which I want to talk about. But first, is there any particular disposition or romance system that you like in particular?
Well, I really like the date with Papyrus in Undertale. Even though there was no real system to it, it was just like picking the right options. So he was just like, oh, I think you're sexy, Papyrus. He's like, oh, you're a little kid. I can't find you sexy. This is weird. Ah, skeleton spaghetti.
That's not an answer I was prepared for.
No, but I think like the only disposition system that I've actually properly ever engaged with is going back to Oblivion, when I was trying to level my speechcraft and it never works. I never had any patience with it because it was just this weird cheese wedge game that was completely unnatural, and there were like 4 options. I think it was joke, anger, bribe,
Sex. Press A for sex. But yeah, the whole cheese wheel thing was a little sketchy.
It was just so stupid. Like, if you thought of a really great joke, well, you think it's a really great joke, but you know that this person hates jokes and hates really great jokes, then why would you go out and say it anyway? It's like, why? Like, that's the most stupid disposition system I've ever seen. It's just easier to just bribe them.
I think Fallout 4 or any disposition game is like that, in that your dialogue is basically going to be incentivized in a way. You're going to pick the choices that your companion is going to like rather than the choices you want to pick.
Yeah.
And I hate that about disposition systems. I hate not having that freedom to pick the choices I want to say the things I want to say, and be constantly worried about the companion behind me is whether they're going to like what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what makes it worse is that when you're trying to play the game, and with Fallout 4, there's specific actions they don't like. So I can't lockpick a safe, which is just the most ridiculous reasoning behind that, because they don't like people who can pick locks or whatever, or the companion doesn't like people who can pick locks, so I can't open up this safe full of goodies, safe full of things that will actually help us on our quest, just because you have a problem with me knowing how to pick a lock.
It's like, hey, dude, that goes against my morals. Dude.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Totally can't do that. That's so wrong.
Yeah, and it's not even stealing. It's like stealing from some 200-year-old dead corpse. Personally, I would like to see disposition systems not based on people agreeing with you all the time. Since, I mean, you go to a restaurant and you both eat different things. It's not the food that's important. It's just the shared experience. And so I would like more of the game to be tied to time as opposed to action. So time spent together.
Yeah.
And because that's not the case, a lot of times it felt like with Fallout 4, I was just using the gamified system to improve my relations with followers I barely used. Like, there was this one follower who I got toward the end of the game. It's not because he wasn't cool or anything. It was just I got him toward the end of the game and I was done exploring.
Right.
So I wanted to max his approval rating. So I found out he liked chems. So what I did is I built this designated crack house at our settlement.
You know your city is flourishing when you have a crack house.
Yeah, pretty much.
A government-funded crack house.
So I put it all the way at the cul-de-sac, all the way in the corners, so where no one else could watch us. And I basically invited him over to the crack house, and I showed him my pile of drugs that I've been collecting all game, and we shot up all night until we became best friends. And that was my extent of my interaction with this person, but he idolized me, and we were all of a sudden, we were the bestest friends in the whole world.
That's actually quite cute. It's like, so there's this guy that I really, really like, but the only problem is he's like a chem addict, and I really don't know how to go about approaching him. So I've got all this money, I've got a settlement. Holy shit, I can build him a house, but not just any house, a crack house for chem addicts. Oh, he's gonna love me.
Yeah.
That's the way to a man's heart. Chems.
I need to start doing that in real life. That's how I'm gonna make friends. It's not with modding, it's with a crack house. And what's kind of neat about the game is that if other people saw you doing crack that disapproved, you would lose points with them. So that's why I kind of built it all the way in the corner of the settlement.
Now that's kind of where crack houses generally are. They're like not in full view of everyone. Like, you don't put a big sign outside saying, addicts in here!
But ultimately, I don't agree that friendship is tied to having the same hobbies or the same likes and having to agree on everything.
Yeah, actually that's a pretty accurate representation of friendship.
Really?
It kind of is. Like, if you're just getting to know someone, and you're like, hey, this is a pretty cool person, and you're just like, yeah, nod, nod, nod. I'm not a very confrontational person. Like, you can't just be completely different to them, but, like, if they say something and you're just like,
Yeah, I agree there should be wedge issues. There should be certain things that are deal breakers.
yeah.
Like, if I had a Brotherhood of Steel person in my party and I called the Brotherhood, like, a bunch of jackasses or some shit, and basically denounced their whole reason for living, then yes, there should be points docked for not being a little bit nicer or showing a little bit more tact, but in general I don't think those things matter as much as having a shared experience, and in this case that experience is saving the world together, and that alone is going to bond you like military people, like a band of brothers.
Yeah.
That you're ultimately striving for the same goal, and as long as you don't go against a particular faction that would result in the world not being saved or whatever, you're gonna have that some sort of bond. And I think time shared is more important than these other little things.
Yeah. Like how much time you spend with them.
And part of the problem, of course, is the dialogue wheel too, because you can't see what all the dialogue options are. And part of the fun of being able to read the dialogue options is being able to read the asshole lines and the sarcastic lines without actually having to choose them. Because really I just want to read the asshole options and not have my companion get mad at me.
We can actually talk about Doctor Who, because I've caught up with it. Yeah, I caught up. I don't know how I feel about this series. It's... I don't know. There were good moments, but on the whole, it was just really boring.
Yeah, how did you feel about the way they finished it off?
I did. To say that I have hated, quite vocally, Clara as a companion, I thought that the way that they sent her off was actually really, really good. Like, it was in line with this character that they've been trying to establish. Not very well, but they've been trying to establish it.
They've been basically just hitting you over the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
In the last episode, she was like almost leaning out of the TARDIS, going, "Oh, look at me! I'm so dangerous."
Woo, I'm so risky.
I thought she was gonna come in juggling knives in the next scene, pretty much at that point. Oh, look! I'm about to die. I'm risking my life, and
I find it all funny. Woo, shits and giggles.
Yeah, and we all know that she was leaving the show, so at that point, it's just kind of okay. We get it, you know.
We get it. You're a risk taker. You're so edgy.
Yeah.
No, like the way that she went out, it was both noble, but it also like highlighted this character flaw of her being very risky and headstrong that they've been trying to establish, which I thought was nice. Like the best writing in the whole season has been in that scene, and I was actually a little bit choked up because I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. Whereas the rest of the season, I've just been like, well, this is shit. Like, oh my god, that Mark Gatiss episode, the found footage episode, I never want to watch that one again.
Why not?
It was just so, like, it was trying to be edgy with the whole, you don't want to watch this. Now you've watched it, you've all infected with the sleep monsters, right?
Oh, right.
And then, like, they didn't explain the Sandmen camera eye things and stuff, and Clara's still going, or I don't know, I didn't really pay much attention to the episode because it was just shit.
You have to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, but I find it hard to suspend disbelief when, like, the whole premise is shit.
Yeah, for me, everything leading up to this whole Clara going away stuff didn't really resonate all that deeply with me. Because it was so obvious and so telegraphed, and part of the problem is just we've been spoiled in advance that she's leaving the show.
Yeah. Like, if they just did it out of the blue, that would have been so much better.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
And that's
they
not
have
really,
to put out a big press release because they're going to get a new companion in, and da 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 da. I don't think it's going to be Maisie Williams.
Well, it's not going to be now after she killed Clara. There's no way. Which is good because I don't think Maisie Williams would have made for a good companion just because
of the conflicts between that and Game of Thrones, filming wise, because like it takes 9 months. Well, it used to take 9 months to record Doctor Who.
Right.
And I don't know how long Game of Thrones takes, but I'm assuming that there'd be some kind of overlap.
Right. Yeah, and she's probably just got too many projects on her hands. Like, she's also, I think, doing The Last of Us. Isn't she doing The Last of Us movie?
What?
Yeah.
What?
You didn't hear about that?
No, I haven't. Let's hop on Google.
She's gonna be Ellie.
IMDb. Yeah. Oh my god, cool. This was like from April. How have I not heard about this?
Well, who knows if the movie's gonna actually make it into production or get
Well, it'll
filmed.
probably be shit if it is.
Yeah.
I don't have much faith in video game movies. I've got no cause to have any faith in them.
No, because they all suck. I don't know if the problem is with the filmmakers or if it's with the video game stories, but The Last of Us has a great story, so it should be fun.
The Last of Us is pretty much a movie anyway.
Yeah, exactly. All the parts that would probably drag on are just gameplay parts, like killing the clickers and stuff like that.
So they could just have like maybe 5-10 minutes of that.
yeah, exactly.
In between cutscenes.
Few jump scares and stuff like that.
It could be
overall,
good, but I don't know.
It could be good. But yeah, Maisie Williams is probably too busy to be a companion.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, it should be a guy. It should be a Marty McFly guy.
Yeah. It should be
awesome.
just something
Bros in
completely
space.
different. Yes. I can get behind that. Without a woman tagging along for shits and giggles, like, ugh. I'm just sick of having women in the TARDIS. I know that sounds sexist, but
well, if they made Doctor Who a woman, it would be
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I just think that whoever the showrunner is, what's his name, Moffat?
Yeah, fuck
I think
Moffat.
he does. I think he might have a thing for like a certain type of woman, round face,
big eyes,
cute looking, kind of cute rather than sexy. That kind of woman. I don't know. That's just a wild speculation on my part, but so
it wouldn't surprise me. We'll find out when the next companion is cast.
Yeah. Are there any rumors about who that might be?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been keeping up. Like, I've been barely keeping up with the show, never mind all the show news and stuff. I'm so bad, I just can't be arsed with it. Because it's just... I don't know. I'd love Capaldi as a doctor. I just don't like Moffat as a showrunner. He was great at writing, like, single or double episodes, but when it comes to writing the overall plot line and stuff, he's just not there.
What do you mean by not there?
Like, the show lacks a pizzazz. And I hate using that word, but it just lacks that something that made the Russell T Davies so special.
What pizzazz? So what, Capaldi needs to be doing more jazz hands or something? Is that your remedy? There needs to be more dancing and singing? I mean, what are you asking?
Doctor Who.
Pretend I'm Stephen Moffat. I'm Stephen Moffat. Tell me what I need to put in. Don't give me that pizzazz nonsense. Right,
you need to put in musical episodes. Buffy had a musical episode by season 6. Come on, you're way behind. Like, why hasn't there been a Doctor Who musical episode? That'd be so funny. I would pay to see that.
But besides, that's more like a gimmick. It would only last one episode. It'd only work for one episode. Like, there's some magical dream state or drug that makes them all sing instead of talk.
Yeah.
That's the conceit, right?
Yeah.
It would only work for one episode. Unless you want it to be a permanent thing and
yes.
they sing for the rest of the show.
Maybe. No. Right. More diversity in the companions, because I'm sick of all these white women's. We need.
Yeah, you may be sick of them.
Variation in the companions.
I'm not sick of them.
Sure.
Okay, go on.
We need characters with actually defined personalities instead of Clara, who was all over the place, because, I don't know, why not? They didn't like have. She didn't have a character. She was just written to suit the situation.
Yeah, it felt like she was trying too hard to play something that she's not.
Yeah.
To break character, basically. And I don't know if it has to do with her physical appearance, where she's adorable and kind of like small and Cute is the word I'm looking for.
Cute.
Yeah. She's very cute, and that's very hard for a cute person to play a rebel or a badass, who doesn't play by the rules, like it's just there was a bit of dissonance there between Clara the person, or Jenna Coleman the person, and Clara the rebel badass,
Yeah, I did quite like that. I did quite like evil Clara in the Zygon episode.
Yeah, she was actually good in that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she actually made a really compelling bad guy.
Right.
But that was because the bad guy had a personality. Which was more than just, I am written to suit the situation. Look at me. I'm cute, but I'm a rebel. But I'm a teacher, but I snagged Jane Austen.
Exactly. Yeah, the main difference with evil Clara is she's sticking to a particular style. Regular Clara seemed more like she was confused almost.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how hard they try to beat it into my head that Clara was a risk taker and all that, she just didn't seem like it. It just felt like something they were trying to sell me without actually being a real part of her personality.
Yeah. Whereas, like, earlier companions, they've had very definite personalities, and that's, like, shaped how they've interacted with the Doctor. I mean, you only have to look at how Rose interacted with the Doctor compared to Catherine Tate. Catherine Tate's character, Donna. You only have to look and see like how different they were and how different they were in their interactions with the same Doctor to see how like the companions basically made the show, because they're like our link to this bizarro world of aliens and shit. On that note, he needs to like set some ground rules for like the rules of the universe, because he just like throws them out the window whenever it suits him. Like paradoxes and stuff. It's just what?
Yeah, I think in general that the paradox stuff and all that, nobody really pays attention unless you're like a diehard nut. But I do agree that sorry Alice, I didn't mean to call you a nut, but hello.
Mate, it's fine.
But I do agree that when a companion's job is to essentially be the voice of humanity and to be caring and empathetic, when you're trying to make the companion also a jerk who's like Doctor Who and...
Yeah, Doctor Who's meant to be the jerk. He's meant to be the jerk of the show. The lovable jerk.
Right, so she can't be like Doctor Who and also be caring and empathetic, and it seems like it was like a bit of tug of war in that they didn't really know what they wanted her to be. They didn't know if they wanted her to be a surrogate for Doctor Who, or if they wanted her to be the surrogate for humanity. And I realized that's the whole point of Clara, but I felt like it was presented as Clara being two different people rather than one person being conflicted on what she wanted to be.
Well, it's like there was this wonderful line in season 2, like in the season 2 finale, where Rose is like just playing around the TARDIS and Jackie says, "You look like him, you know." And Rose says, "Oh, yeah, thanks." And she was like, "I didn't mean it as a compliment." So it kind of like highlights this dissonance between the Doctor and between humanity, which I think is something that this show has just lost. On that note, get rid of the fucking guitar and get rid of those sonic fucking sunglasses. They're fucking terrible.
The sonic sunglasses are awful because you don't get a visual of what's happening. They beam in the audio like sound, I don't know what it's called, to try and cue you into that something changed, but it's just not as convincing as when a doctor pulls out his little wand.
I really
and
miss the
points
sonic
it at
screwdriver. Like what? It's something he's always had.
Right.
Like almost as long as the show's gone on, he's had a screwdriver. Because like he doesn't like it isn't a weapon. He fixes things. He doesn't go around like shooting things or looking at things and stopping the UV rays from the sun.
Right, I'm not against changing the device. If you want to give him something else, that's fine. I'm more against the fact that sunglasses don't really tell you something different is happening. If he's using the sunglasses to unlock a door, I can tell he's unlocking the door if he's pointing a screwdriver at it and it's making a sound. If he puts on his sunglasses, like what?
And he's just looking at it. He's just like Professor Xavier.
Yeah, the light is in your eyes. Like, why are you putting sunglasses on? You know, did someone shine a flashlight in your face? It doesn't really convey.
Yeah, how practical would that be if he's like in a dark room?
Yeah,
like he wouldn't be able to see what he's unlocking. He could just like rip out someone's intestines or something. I don't know what screwdrivers do.
Yeah, exactly. How does he mentally, I guess with the screwdriver it's the same thing, but with the screwdriver you're pushing a button. This button is to unlock this.
And you like twiddle it around for settings and stuff like that. It's practical.
So is it like Professor Xavier? Is he like beaming his thoughts into the glasses?
I don't know.
There's something about it.
Let's wait for Moffat to explain. Oh wait, he won't.
There's something about it that screams, I'm doing this to make my character look a certain way. It's style over substance. Yeah.
It's the same with the guitar, how they've just like thrown that into every episode.
Yeah.
Like it was fun in the first episode this season. But like then they threw it in every other episode and it was like, okay, this is losing its novelty now. Okay.
Did you forget that I play the guitar? Let me remind you.
Let me remind you whilst I'm listening to this phone call.
See how cool and punk I am? Punk's still cool, right?
Like, I get that, like, in the first episode it was, like, a homage to his past, because he obviously can play guitar, and he used to be, like, a punk rocker.
Right, he used to be a punk rocker.
But, like, when it's thrown into every episode, it's just like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
You can stop now. Please stop. There is no point to this.
He's just gonna double down.
Let's get on with the plot!
He's gonna double down. He's gonna add, like, a drum next time. Or a saxophone.
And then the season afterwards he's gonna start screaming like screamo music. I am the doctor! Oh fuck, ow!
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah, see? Playing a ghoul is hard.
Fuck! Jeez. That's why I never did screamo. That explains it.
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah, it totally hurts.
Yeah, so I'm never going to voice a ghoul.
So if you've ever wondered why there's no female ghoul companions, it's because it fucking hurts. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
No, I think we're good. We've got a good 50 minutes on there. I think.
Alright.
Oh, actually, I've come up with topics for next time's episode, so stay tuned.
I'm sure everyone will be on pins and needles waiting for that.
I've never heard that expression before.
I have no idea what it means. It's an idiom, so.
Tenterhooks.
What?
I say tenterhooks, like you're on tenterhooks.
What?
Like waiting.
That makes even less sense. Alright, so, if that's all, I guess we should say goodbye.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye. If you actually listen to this Wanderer song, it's also about polygamy.
What?
Well, I guess polygamy is the wrong word because he's not marrying any of them, but it's about this guy who hops in his car and skips town anytime a girl starts to even remotely get attached. In fact, come to think of it, I think a good majority of the new tracks are about like cheating on your wife or polygamy and multiple romance in general. Not sure if that's a coincidence.